The money that you can make in the business is ridiculous. And like the amount of time that it takes for you to get paid from the sales that you're making is super, super quick.
If you're self-employed, you're unemployed because now you're making the money unless you show up.
The amount of money that I've been able to make has just kind of like changed my perspective on like what's possible in life and like the things you can do, you know?
The biggest override you have in this business is always on your own pen.
If you don't have like a deeper purpose, or if you don't have like a deeper goal of what it is that you're looking to do, on the days that you don't want to work, you're not going to work.
All right, so we got Justin Santa, top producer, Limitless Insurance. Justin, how are you, brother?
I'm doing well, bro. Another day in paradise. I can't complain.
Let's do it, man. So here's what we're going to talk about today, Justin. This is going to go on the Level Up Academy channel, and really it's meant to go over the mindset and what it takes to be a successful agent. I've seen you grow from when you started, struggling to where you are now, and I think you got a beautiful story that you could share, and hopefully we touch one person today, bro. We did our job, so.
Yeah.
Before we get into all the insurance stuff, dude, walk me through your upbringing. I know, how old are you, kind of like your upbringing, and then we'll lead right into your professional journey here with insurance.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 23 years old. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. Born and raised out there. I mean, I spent all of my life out there until I moved out here to Miami back in 2020, so August of 2020. But born and raised out there, bro. I mean, Brooklyn, New York is in my blood, so I'm Puerto Rican and Colombian. Definitely more New York Rican. And I think growing up out there is probably what has made me like adaptable to go anywhere that I'm at.
Sure.
I think that's kind of what made things easy coming out here and making the change and being able to adapt super quick.
Yeah, I think people from the Northeast, for whatever reason, are always really good at sales.
Yeah.
I think it's more of like, I don't know if it's like the fast pace of the Northeast, or it's a little more cutthroat. Would you agree?
No, I would agree for sure. I think the way that things work out there, everything is so fast, and like your decisions are made so quickly. Especially in sales, you have to be creative and you have to like come up with things off the top of your head. Like sometimes I just make shit up. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking to clients, sometimes they'll ask me a question and like I'll give them the answer, but like the way that I word it, I'll just make some shit up,
right.
you know?
And you gotta be quick on your feet, and you gotta be able to
100%. 100%. So I think when I came out here, like a lot of people see Miami as fast, but the way that I saw it from what I'm used to, like everything was slowed down. Yeah. So
sure. I hear that a lot. So how long you been in insurance?
I've been in insurance for 2.5 years. It's about to be 3 years now. Yeah.
Okay, so 2.5 years. And what's the most you made in a month?
The most I've made in a month was 47,000
Deposits.
deposit.
Fire. Okay, and the most you wrote in production in a month?
The most I've written in production in a month was 90, just shy of 100. So it was like 98.2.
Fire. That's
Yeah.
good. All right, cool. So let's talk about the first few weeks or months, because were you always this good when you started in insurance?
No, no, not at all. I fucking sucked in the
All
beginning.
right. So first, what made you get into insurance? And then
Yeah.
we'll kind of walk us through the beginning of the journey.
So for me, when I came out here, I was going to college. I was going to college for architecture, and I dropped out. I was part-time at T-Mobile, part-time telecom. Then I dropped out, went full-time. A couple months after that, I got promoted to assistant manager. A couple months after that, they gave me my own store.
How old were you at this point?
When I got my own store?
Yeah, it's relevant.
19.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was 19.
I got my own store at 22, and I was like, at that time, the youngest freaking store manager in the, like, literally,
Yeah.
in all of Sprint Corporate.
Yeah.
In 2014. But
No, it was the same thing for me. I was 19 and I had a store. So I had a team. I was kind of learning how to like manage a team and stuff like that. And the oldest dude that I managed was like 52 years old, which was kind of crazy at the time. But I worked there. I was a manager for like 2 years. And then the company that I worked for ended up getting bought out. So I got like a 30, 40 grand pay cut annually. And they were pretty much like, hey, like we're going to pay you less money, but like we need you to work harder. And I was like, nah. So I started looking for like different ways out to kind of figure out what the next.
Sense.
Yeah, no, it wasn't gonna happen. So I was looking for other opportunities and just kind of like figuring out what my next move was. At the time I was 20, so I was still living with mom. So I kind of had some leeway there. I kind of had some flexibility. And then I saw Jose and Usbel both leaving T-Mobile, and they were both like individuals who were district managers at the time, making six figures, and they both had wives and kids, and they were leaving, and I was like, what the fuck are they leaving for, Trying to figure it out. So I asked them, and they told me they were doing insurance, and they told me, they were like, yeah, there's some girl there. It was at your office. Yeah. Actually, they were like, yeah, there's some girl there that, she deposited, I think it was like $10,000, $14,000, something like that in a month. And I was like, what is she doing? And they were like, oh, she's just dialing. She's in the air conditioner dialing inside with Wi-Fi on her phone. And I was like, nah, Yeah, nah, you're lying. So I came to the office, I checked it out. Everybody there was cool, and I saw what people were doing there, and I was like, all right, bet. So I put in my 2 weeks, and
So you just quit cold turkey?
yeah, no, I just quit, and it's crazy too, cause like when I quit, I had $1,000 in my bank account, like in my checkings, nothing in my savings, with like a $4,000 overhead on a monthly basis.
Nice.
So I quit, and I was like, bro, I wasn't gonna continue to like let them determine.
How long did it take you to get your license?
A week.
All right. Okay, so you started. Walk me through the first month.
Selling, like licensed?
Yeah, like once you started working, did you make any money first and foremost? Of course.
No. No, I didn't make any money the first month, but like honestly, it was my own fault too. I think coming over to insurance, because you have the flexibility to like make your own hours and stuff like that, and because I was used to having like a schedule where like I knew what time I needed to be there, and you know what time I got there, what time I left, what my tasks are and what my responsibilities were, I took like the freedom for granted, so I really wasn't working how I should have been working in the beginning. So no, I didn't make any money.
What was well, obviously, was that the hardest like thing for you to adapt, the schedule piece, or?
Yeah, 100%. I think again, because of that freedom, I kind of took it for granted in the sense where like before I was making like, you know, 5-6 grand a month at T-Mobile, and seeing what you can make in insurance, I was like, all right, cool, like I can do that in a couple policies and just not work. So in my head, it was like, all right, I'm gonna come into insurance, I'm gonna sell like 2, 3, 4 deals maybe, and then just not work for the rest of the month, and I'll be fine. If that was that simple.
Yeah, if you knew then what you know now, right? So
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake, Justin, that I see with a lot of young guys that come into our business is just that, you know. My favorite line is, if you're self-employed, you're unemployed.
Yeah.
Because now you ain't making the money unless you show up. And from the math that you do on paper seems very simple. Like if I close 2 deals a week, I'll make 10 grand in a month.
Yeah.
That's not that hard. If I close them in a day, I only work 1 day a week.
Yeah.
But it obviously it's not that cookie cutter. And and I see a lot of people flop and had to leave the business because they don't see any they don't get any traction.
Yeah.
And then they blame it on the industry, which is the funniest part. Okay, so you weren't. How long did it take you for you to be like, all right, fuck it, I gotta actually lock in and get to work? Like you said, the first month you didn't make no money, but was it like a wake up call? What made you change from not being disciplined to actually like showing up and working?
I remember the day. It was literally August 27th, 2023.
Okay.
That's when like I kind of just like flipped things around.
You got over your shit and you said, I'm
Yeah,
work.
yeah, 100%.
Right. What was going through your mind?
Well, first of all, I put myself in like 30 grand of credit card debt, so
Okay.
I needed to get that paid off.
So shit hit the fan.
Yeah, no, shit hit the fan for sure. And like again, like I put myself in that position because I wasn't working because of the freedom of the business. But I mean, I had met 2 individuals that were making good money, and they were getting to the office at 8 in the morning, and they weren't leaving until like 8, 9, 10 p.m. So like my main thing was like, all right, like these dudes are making 10 times what I'm making now. So my main thing was like, all right, I'm gonna get to the office before them, and then I'm not gonna leave the office until, you know, it's after them, because there should be no reason why if they're making more than me, they're working more than me, I have more to lose.
What do you say to people that think working 8 to 8 or 8 to 9 is maybe like a little over the top or excessive?
I think it kind of has to do with like a deeper sense of purpose. Like there's some people that like don't necessarily know who they are, like they don't have a deeper sense of purpose, or like they don't have a goal to kind of like strive for to justify why they're working that much, if that makes sense, you know. Like a lot for some people it's just about the money. In this business, like you're not going to succeed in this business if it's just about the money.
Right. I just had a conversation with one of the guys here like 2-3 days ago. Actually, Alex was involved.
Yeah.
Or it's like, so my son FaceTimed me like at 9 o'clock at night, and then I guess Alex took that home with him, and he comes back and he's like, bro, that's so crazy. I was thinking about that when the day that he has kids, because he wants to start a family, that might be him, you know, because we were a little sick in the head. Like I like to work. Like I enjoy doing this on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I won't say more than spending time with my son, but like it's 1A and 1B. You know what I mean? Like I'll spend time with him after when I get home and a little bit this morning.
100%.
But when the person we were speaking with, I was like, what are your thoughts? And he's like, no, well, I would like more like work-life balance. Well, you know me, I like breaking things down. So I'm like, all right, bro, so tell me, what's your perfect scenario life? Walk me through that. He goes, financially free, you know, and I'm like, all right, bro. And then Alex is like, you're never gonna be financially free if you don't. I'm like, wait, hold on, dude. What is financially free? Because that's subjective, you know. Financially free for me doesn't necessarily mean the same thing for you.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, paid off house, not living check to check. I'm like, all right, so let's put a number on that. Do you know how much money you need to make to do that? And he's like, he's looking at me like a deer in headlights. I'm like, well, I'm going to put a number. I think in Miami, you probably need to have a $300,000 household income between you and your spouse. To assuming you have 1 or 2 kids, or you have 3, you're fucked. But so let's talk about how you can get to 300 grand a year. You know, because you didn't go to school, so it's going to be sales, or you're starting a company, or you're going to be like a C-level executive at a company. And let me tell you, bro, that those people are dealing with the same amount of stress that I am. And unless you probably put in the same type of hours.
Yeah.
And I could tell, like, in his demeanor, he was like, holy fuck. My whole point in telling that story is people will say, well, you guys, I've been accused of not caring about my family before because I work too much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you don't, I have a clear understanding of what I want, what it takes to get it. You know, the people that are talking shit about me want the same thing. And they like to say that we got lucky.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but the only difference between the guys that were showing up working 12-hour days and making a lot more money compared to you was that they knew what they wanted and they knew what it took.
Yeah.
You know? And that was one of the takeaways that I had for the week is like, I know what I want. I know what I need to do to get it. So I don't feel bad about it. And if you think that I'm stupid for working 12-hour days, 14-hour days, then, you know, I'll see you on my way to the bank.
Yeah. No, I think that's the biggest thing, bro. I think if you know what you want, you know what you're looking to get, then like, just like you said, you know what it takes to get there.
Head down and you get there.
Yeah.
All right. So August 27, 2023,
Yeah.
you decided to put your head down.
Yeah.
You got over your shit. You started working.
Yeah.
Just go a little bit into the skill side of the business. You know what I mean? What was the biggest hurdle from a activity standpoint? Like, what was the part that you struggled with the most in the process of selling insurance?
I would say the discipline side of like being able to have like a strong head on your shoulders, like dealing with rejection.
Okay.
I think in the business that I was in before, the rejection was a little different because it was face to face.
Yeah.
So like in this business, like when someone hangs up on you, like you can't necessarily like do anything about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think dealing with the rejection in the beginning, not that it was hard, but it was something to get used to for sure.
It's weird.
Yeah, it was super strange. Yeah. It was super strange. I think,
Absolutely.
but obviously building up those no's, as the saying goes, bro. Like building up those no's, every no you get gets you closer to the yes. So.
Absolutely, you got them out of the way quick.
Yeah.
As far as like the sales side of it, like the presentation with the clients, walking them through, did you struggle with that, or were you kind of good at it from the beginning?
No, I think for me the way that I looked at it with sales is, especially on the phone, like there's a dude, old dude from another company and another dude that used to produce insurance or used to sell insurance. He had this like philosophy on insurance. So like I watched the video when I first started and I was like, I'm sticking with that. But it was basically like when you're an actor in like movies or shows, and when you're an actor, you get paid a shit ton of money to remember a script, say it a certain way, and emotionally impact people.
Right.
And like that's kind of like I took that same philosophy and like I just put it into insurance. So I'm like, all right, I'm getting paid a shit ton of money to remember a script, say it a certain way, and emotionally impact people. And I think once I kind of understood it that way, then I was like, all right, the thing that I need to focus on the most is the questions that I'm asking, the way that I'm asking them, paying attention to my tonality, being able to emotionally impact these people, and then like based off of that, they're gonna make their decisions emotionally. Like a lot of people don't make decisions logically.
Yeah.
So
I think that's really good, bro, because finding a way to package it mentally where like what you're doing is not really what you're doing. That makes any sense. Like I would tell, I still tell the agents, like, so I'll tell you in your case, if I was training an agent and I was you, and your average month is, call it 30 grand, it's $1,000 a day. Yeah. And what we're asking them is to dial $300. Yeah. You know, I'd be like, if I told you you make 300 calls, and don't worry about the end result, just make it 300 calls, and you're gonna get $1,000 each day that you do that. You would do that, no problem. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. But people struggle picking up the phones and making the calls because obviously mental barriers and rejection or whatever the case may be for that individual. But I think packaging it in a way where you trick your brain into like, okay, I'm not actually dialing. I'm just going through the motions to get the $1,000, or I'm just an actor and I need to provide emotion on the other end to be able to provide help to this family. It'll get you to remove the emotion from the business, which I think obviously is probably the next topic I want to touch on you because the biggest struggle I see with agents is controlling emotions. I mean, me to this day, I've learned how to like compartmentalize a little bit when shit goes south, but you're dealing with rejection, you're dealing with chargebacks, you're dealing with, you have a team with people that are not doing what they're supposed to do. How do you handle, emotions, not just failure, but even successes? Because a lot of the scarier times for agents is when they get paid. Yeah. You were 20 years old, you made $5 grand in a week. It's hard for you not to want to pick up and go to Vegas or Punta Cana or something, with that money. 100%. So what tips you have for new agents or people watching as far as controlling your emotions and staying in the game?
I mean, it sounds super cliche, but I know like having a routine of something that you're doing every day is something that's huge. Something that regardless of whether it's a bad day or a good day, like you have to get that done regardless of anything. So an
example of what you do?
The morning routine. Yeah. Morning routine. Wake up, walk my dog, go to the gym, sauna, eat my breakfast, run the morning meeting, go to the office.
Yeah, like clockwork.
Yeah, very simple. Yeah,
I'm
usually up at like 5:30. It depends.
I take credit.
I remember.
I take credit for that. Yeah, I be bitching at everybody to wake up early, bro.
I remember the chat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It only lasted like 3 days, but
Yeah.
whoever runs with it, that's kind of like how the business works. So like you tell everybody to do something, and some people are just gonna run with it, and some are not. And
But the people who run with it, you see where they go.
100%. Look at where you are now. You know what I mean? $40,000 in a month. That's $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
You could duplicate that every single month. You're making doctor, lawyer money.
Yeah.
At 20. How old are you now? 23.
Yeah.
23 years old. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your team. So, top salespeople don't always make the best leaders.
Yeah.
You know, I've been developing teams since I was kind of like you, 19 years old, and I'm 33 now. I'm a little older than you. So, what has been the biggest challenge in building a team? Let's start with that.
I think making the time for it. Okay. I think making the time for it has probably been like the biggest challenge. I think when you're producing, like when you have like personal production and like you hit a certain number every single month and you're used to that, and then now you're building your team and you have to like bring that down because you got to make time for them. Right. You start seeing your numbers drop and you're like, oh shit, like what the fuck is happening? Right. You start like second guessing your skills, or you start like second guessing what's going on. You don't see the same money coming into your bank account, but I think it just kind of comes from like, you know, like the standard that you hold to for yourself. But just obviously keeping in mind that you're building for the future. So if I'm taking a sacrifice now to build for the future, and not only that, but I'm helping somebody else have that opportunity, then, you know, it's
obviously
worth it.
Easier said than done, right? When those deposits are cut in half.
Yeah.
And then how do you deal with like to get agents running fast? Because I think, okay, you take the sacrifice, and even though that's hard, you do it because you understand the bigger picture. But then you're dealing with agents, and I know dealing with people is not easy. You know what I mean? You're gonna have some that are all about in and going all the way through, and then you have some that are lollygagging. And typically, the really talented ones are the ones that are half-assing, and the ones that are not that good are working harder, which doesn't really add up. And obviously, we'd rather put the time into the ones that are working hard, regardless of the talent level. But how do you deal with, okay, you're sacrificing, but then you have to deal with personalities. You have to deal with people maybe not doing what they're supposed to do. Maybe people not being at the level they want to be at, and they're looking at you for help.
I think with my team, one thing that I had to get used to, or like one thing that I had to learn, is that like everybody's coached differently. Like everybody receives feedback or like criticism differently. So learning different personality types and stuff like that, I think it just kind of goes back to like the emotional control. Right. There's some people that I can be really, really direct with. Like that's just kind of how I am. There's some people I can be really, really direct with, and like I can give them feedback and be like, hey, like you sound like shit, or like you're not working. Right. And there's some people you have to kind of like, you know, step on thin ice a little bit, or kind of walk on eggshells or whatever, and be a little nicer to them. But I think in terms of the mindset behind being able to get them to where they want to go, I think it just kind of comes down to like letting them know, or like having them understand both through words and action that like you believe in them. Some people just need that, bro. Like some people just need people to believe in them for them to be able to like excel and like really like I guess achieve or get to their potential. Some people just don't have that.
Gotcha. How many people are you managing now, Justin?
A little over 30.
Nice. You're regular, so I don't mean literally today. I mean more like your schedule in March. Like now, like what does the schedule for Justin on a regular day look like today, work-wise?
Well, morning routine, get to the office by 8. From 8 to 9, I'm handling all my back office. At 9, I'll have a meeting with my assistant till 9:30. If I can cut it shorter, then I'd rather cut it shorter. And then by 9:30, I'm on the phone up until, I would say about, it depends the day, it depends the appointments that I have, but I would say about like 3 p.m. By 3 p.m., I'll handle like role play and stuff like that with some of my newer agents. Sometimes I do it earlier in the morning. It kind of depends how the day goes.
Where your appointments are lined up and
stuff. Yep, kind of depends on how my appointments are lined up. But midday role play, and then pick back up on the phone at 4, and then I don't leave any earlier than 8. But sometimes I'm there until like 10. But I don't leave any earlier than 8. That's like the earliest that I'm leaving.
Let's dive a little bit into your business model for your personal production, because it remains. Obviously, you have overrides on 30 people, which is good, but the biggest override you have in this business is always on your own pen. Yeah. And it's a hard balance that you obviously already kind of alluded to. But I heard you say appointment setters, appointments. One, what type of lead do you work? To kind of walk me through the appointment setting process, to how many appointments a week you take, and what does that look like from a production standpoint?
Yeah. I have one dialer. I have one appointment setter. She only dials mortgage for me. Okay. So like mortgage protection. And I have her on like age mortgage protection, 3-4-year-old leads. We try to make sure those people don't get forgotten about.
Yeah, of course. But there's plenty of money in that, bro.
Oh, 100%. And it's super profitable too.
Yeah, because they're cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, with a lot of hers, it's a lot of like some people that got forgotten about, or, you know, policy replacements for some people that might have not have been put in a good position.
Right.
So just helping them get put in a better position. But I would say like probably like 60-40, 60% mortgage, 40% IULs.
Got it. You're working,
Yeah.
is it all age leads or is it a mix of fresh and aged?
No, everything I dial is new.
Okay, you personally dial.
Yeah,
Okay,
everything I
and then the
dial
appointment
personally.
set is just dialing the age ones.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And the new ones you're doing 60-40 mortgage to IUL?
Yeah.
Facebook leads?
Yeah.
Gotcha. What's your favorite, if you have one?
Between the two products?
Yeah. Between the two type of leads.
Mortgage.
Yeah.
I would say
Same
probably
here.
mortgage.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think being that like I'm more of a direct person, it's more of an emotional sale.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it allows me to ask those emotional questions. I think there's a little bit more of a sense of urgency behind that type of sale.
100%.
I think the opportunity that you have, if you have the knowledge in IULs, and you can pivot that, after
Right.
your mortgage sale, set them up for retirement.
100%.
For some of those people that have homes, a lot of them like are financially stable to a certain extent. So you can
working
find
class people.
Yep. So you can find some annuity opportunities in there as well.
Yeah. And they can afford a good premium or a decent premium
yeah,
too. So it's important. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I would say mortgage. I think asking the emotional questions is super important. I think that's what makes it real. And yeah, I know I'm helping them out. I know because I'm talking to them, if something happens to them, then like their family's not going to be homeless.
100%. How important do you think it is to actually care about what you're doing? Like not just looking at the dollar signs, but truly, truly caring about putting them in a good position. So if something does hit the fan, their family's actually taken care of.
It's super important. Like there's some deals that I've lost from the age mortgage. Like there's some people that I've spoken to that like I can't beat what they have now.
Right.
I mean, good. They're the other agent that they had put them in a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think integrity is like super, super huge. Like you want to make sure you're doing the best by them. Like if I know there's a product that I can sell them that I can see all the companies that are available. So I can either sell them one that's $150 more and I know they're going to buy it because they like me, or I can sell them the one that's the best price that's $150 less. Like for one, I want to make sure that I'm putting them in a good spot and I'm not overcharging them for their insurance. I'm going to make sure I give them the best rate. Not only that, but like if I do that, then like at a certain point, it'll catch up to me, whether it's somebody else replacing my policy. Now I have a fat ass chargeback on my shit because I didn't put them in a good position.
Yeah, for starters.
But not caring about them is definitely super, super important. I reach out to my clients. I have like a thing that I follow. So it's like 2 week, 2 month. And then I just reach out to them like every couple weeks and stuff like that.
For retention.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Both for retention and referrals too.
Yeah.
Like they know when I'm calling them, like I'm calling them to like give me some referrals. Who did you talk to? And I mess with them too. Like some of them, little strange.
Yeah, assuming you have that you built that rapport.
Yeah, that you built the rapport. Then some of them are transactional, but yeah, no, they know like when I call, like they're gonna pick up the phone and like I'm gonna mess with them, be like, hey, who did you speak to that might need some help? Because I know everybody that isn't taken care of right now.
Right. Awesome. Justin, what do you say to somebody who's in sales? Let's just say solar, for example.
Yeah.
And is looking to either pivot or maybe not completely happy. Why should they consider insurance?
Well, I mean, first of all, the money that you can make in the business is ridiculous. And like the amount of time that it takes for you to get paid from the sales that you're making is super, super quick. Like I sold a deal today and like I'll get paid tomorrow. Yeah. Well, tomorrow's Sunday. So I'll get paid on Monday. Yeah. But I think the quickness of you getting your money is great. The opportunity to be able to help people on the other side of the phone, like we were talking about earlier, like I know I'm helping people on the other side of the phone, as well as like I know I'm helping people on my side of the phone too, like with my team. I know they're making money. I know the impact that I've been able to have on them just in offering them the opportunity. I'm not going to take credit for any of their success because they did that on their own. Right. But just offering them the opportunity and the guidance, I think it's fulfilling, bro. Like being able to help people change their lives and have the opportunity to change other people's lives. And ultimately, like with this business, I mean, it's what changed my life. So like we talked about earlier, I'm a little biased, but for me, like the amount of money that I've been able to make is just kind of like changed my perspective on like what's possible in life and like the things you can do,
Yeah. You didn't finish school, right? I would
imagine. College? No.
Oh, you mentioned you were going to school for a little bit.
I dropped out, bro.
Oh, that's right. You said that at the beginning.
I had a 6 to 9 p.m. class, and it was Tuesday, Thursday for architecture. And it was like my first weekend. No, it was my second weekend. And the professor was like, yeah, this is an industry where you have to do 5 years of school, 1 year of getting your license, and 2 years of getting established in an architecture firm to make money. Yeah. If you're not willing to do that, then this isn't the industry for you. And like I sat there and like it was like a class of like 35 people. Yeah, and I looked around and I was just like, nah. So I just started packing my stuff and I left. And I got home at like 7:30 and my mom was like, yo, like why'd you get home so early? I was like, I'm dropping out. Like,
she cool with it?
Yeah, she was cool with it. Like she told me, she was like, for real? And I'm like, yeah. She was like, but we just paid like 10 grand. You know, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like, I'm dropping out. But I told her, like, she believed in me. I told her, I was like, look, I'm gonna figure it out. And she was like, all right, cool. So she believed
I
in
think
me.
you speak with a level of maturity since how young you are. That as a parent, I would imagine, because I'm a dad now, my kid's 4.
Yeah.
So I'm not going through that yet, but would imagine it's fulfilling and inspiring to see your kid come at you from a very mature standpoint.
Yeah. I came to her and I was like, hey, like, I'm not going to pursue this. I'm not passionate about it. I'm not going to force myself to do something I'm not passionate about. It makes no sense. I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to graduate. Sure, I'll make money, but like, I'm not going to be happy. So I was like, I'm going to figure it out. And she was like, yeah, I believe you.
All right, brother. So to wrap up, give me one advice that you would give any new insurance agent that's just starting in the business. One, if they could do one thing that you do or that you've seen people do, what would that be?
Before you start, figure out what your like end goal is. Like, start with the end in mind is what the saying is, right? Like, figure out where it is that you're looking to go, what your end goal is, what your why is, like you were talking about earlier, like what your purpose is, and then go from there, build on that, and then take that into the rest of what it is that
and
you
why
do.
do you think that's important?
If you don't have like a deeper purpose, or if you don't have like a deeper goal of what it is that you're looking to do, on the days that you don't want to work, you're not going to work.
That's what I was trying to get out of you. Yeah, because I think understanding where you want to get to, I mean, we spoke about it earlier. Yeah. It's going to make it okay when you have shitty days, because it'll remind you, rather than you just doing it just to kind of go through the motions, and when you have a shitty day, you're like, fuck it, I'm quitting. Yeah,
no, 100%. So having the deeper sense of purpose, having that why, starting with the end in mind, that's going to be the biggest thing. If you can't find it, like if you are considering getting into insurance and you can't sit down and like tell people what you want to do with your life, or whatever that looks like, figure that out first, and then you can.
And this is a really shitty industry to not make a lot of money. And the only way you make a lot of money is if you work. Yeah. And if you're broke in this industry, it's like the worst industry to be in. Yeah. It's 100%. Only cool if you make money. Otherwise, it's just fucking terrible. So yeah. All right, brother. Well, thank you. You're very impressive, dude. I know I tell you all the time, but what you do is very impressive. At your age, the demeanor that you carry yourself with, I can only wait to see what your future looks like, dude. And hopefully we provided some value to the people watching, bro, that they could take something with you. And we got to do this again soon.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate the opportunity.
March 8th of 2026, we're running back. All right, bro.